Athens, 399 BC. The courtroom. 501 judges sit on stone benches. Before them stands an old man. He is facing a death sentence. Socrates stands in the center. He wears an old cloak and is barefoot. The charge is impiety toward the gods and corrupting the youth. In the language of the time, this means exile or execution by a cup of poison. The entire city is against him. The crowd expects an apology. The crowd expects fear. Socrates begins to speak. Rule: never make excuses. An excuse is an admission of guilt before the verdict. It is a position of weakness. When you make excuses, you give your opponent the right to judge you. Socrates does not ask for forgiveness. He does not cry. He does not bring his children to evoke pity from the judges, as was the custom in Athens. He states the facts. He says he was doing his job. His job was to ask questions. If questions make people wiser, that is not corruption. If questions provoke anger in fools, that is the fool's problem. He stands tall. His voice is steady. His gestures are calm. In the Athenian courts of that time, the accused was expected to beg. Socrates shatters this script. He carries himself as if he were the judge, and those 501 men were the defendants who must account for their lives. Rule: stay calm when they scream. The courtroom is noisy. People shout insults. Socrates pauses. He waits for the noise to subside. He does not try to outshout them. He who screams has lost control. He who waits in silence commands the situation. He explains his position through logic. His accuser, Meletus, claims Socrates corrupts the youth. Socrates asks, who then makes them better? Meletus answers, the laws, the judges, all the citizens of Athens. Socrates pins down the conclusion, so the entire city makes people better, and only one old man is capable of corrupting them. It is a logical fallacy. Meletus looks like an idiot. Socrates is not angry with him. Anger is weakness. He dissects Meletus's lies like a surgeon, methodically and coldly. Rule: do not change your stance to save yourself. He is offered a deal. Stop philosophizing, shut your mouth, live quietly, and you won't be touched. For anyone else, this is an exit. For Socrates, it is a surrender. He replies, I respect you, Athenians, but I will obey the god rather than you. This is not a challenge. It is a statement of fact. His priorities were set long ago. The court cannot change his schedule or his thoughts. Death is merely a technical detail of the process. The majority expects a man to break under pressure. They expect him to bargain. Socrates shows that there is nothing to bargain with. His identity is not for sale for the right to breathe another 10 years. Rule: your value does not depend on the opinion of the majority. 501 judges are a representative sample of society. Most of them hate Socrates because he made them feel ignorant. They want to destroy the source of their discomfort. Socrates understands the mechanics of their hatred. He does not try to be liked. To please an enemy is to become their slave. He continues to speak the truth, knowing that every word increases the number of black stones in the voting urn. A black stone is a vote for death. He is not fighting for his life. He is fighting for the right to remain himself until the end of the trial. He does not view the judges as a force. He views them as a natural obstacle, like a storm or a disease. One does not get angry at a storm. One does not beg it for mercy. One simply stands before it, maintaining an upright position. The voting begins. The judges approach the urns one by one. The sound of stones hitting wood fills the air. Socrates watches the process with the curiosity of a bystander. He does not expect a miracle. He expects the result of his actions. He understands. The stance is more important than the outcome. To win the trial and lose your dignity is a defeat. To lose the trial and maintain your stance is a victory. The results are announced. The majority has voted him guilty. The margin is small, but it is there. Socrates is declared a criminal. By law, he must propose his own punishment as an alternative to the death penalty. Usually, people suggest a massive fine or exile. Socrates steps forward. The hall falls silent. Rule: dictate your terms, even in chains. He says, Since I have made the city better, my punishment should be this: feed me free meals in the Prytaneum for the rest of my life, like an Olympic champion. This is a slap in the face to the entire system. This is not defiance for defiance's sake. It is a confirmation of his righteousness. If he is found guilty but believes he is right, he cannot ask for a fine. To ask for a fine is to admit that you have done evil and want to atone for it with money. Socrates demands a reward. The judges are furious. They expected the old man to be terrified by the verdict. Instead, he is trolling them. But it is not a joke, it is the highest form of dominance. When a man sentenced to death dictates to the court how he should be honored. Rule: control the meaning of what is happening. They can take his life, but they cannot make him admit they are right. The trial turns into a farce where the judges look petty and offended, while the defendant looks majestic and calm. A second vote takes place. Now the question is, death or free meals? This time, far more people vote for death than the first time. Even those who hesitated are now enraged by his behavior. Socrates looks at them. He got what he wanted. He forced them to show their true nature. He is not a victim of circumstances. He is the director of this process. The verdict: death. Socrates stands motionless. His position hasn't shifted by a millimeter. The conflict is resolved. The system has made its decision. The man has remained a man. Conclusion: the majority can kill, but it cannot humiliate the one who refuses to be humiliated. Socrates is led away to prison. He wears the same shackles used for thieves and murderers. His friends are in a panic. His students are weeping. The city is buzzing. For Athens, this is a political scandal. For Socrates, it is the logical conclusion of a workday. In the cell, it is dark and damp. Socrates sits on the stone bench. He does not complain about the cold. He does not curse the judges. He continues to reflect. His state of mind does not depend on whether he is in the gardens of the academy or in a dungeon. Rule: your dignity does not depend on the setting. Prison is just a room with a locked door. If there is order within you, the walls do not matter. Socrates does not seek sympathy. When his friends visit, he is the one who comforts them. He asks them questions, forcing their brains to work. He does not allow them to collapse into empty emotionality. Crito, a wealthy and influential friend, arrives. Crito has a plan. The guards are bribed. The road to Thessaly is open. A ship waits in the port of Piraeus. Everything is ready for an escape. Socrates' friends are willing to risk their money and reputations to save him. Socrates does not jump up from the bench. He does not thank fate for a miraculous rescue. He asks a single question: is it just? Rule: do not make decisions based on fear. Escape is an instinct. An animal runs when it senses danger. A human stops and analyzes the consequences. Socrates explains to Crito, if he escapes, he violates the social contract. He lived his whole life in Athens, enjoyed the protection of its laws, and raised his children under those laws. If he breaks them now simply because they have turned against him, then his entire life was a lie. He chooses to stay, not out of a love for death, but out of loyalty to his own principles. Rule: be predictable to yourself. If you change the rules of the game when you start losing, you have no rules. You are a weathercock. Socrates is a rock. He knows that if he flees, his enemies win twice. First, when they condemned him. Second, when they forced him to become a coward and a lawbreaker. By staying in the cell, he maintains the status quo. He remains the teacher delivering the final, most important lesson: how to die without losing face. Rule: do not let others' emotions dictate your behavior. Crito begs. He speaks of the children, of what people will think of Socrates' friends. They will say they were too stingy to pay for the rescue. Socrates cuts this short. The opinion of the crowd carries no weight. The opinion of an expert in the matter of truth, that is what matters. He speaks of the laws as if they were living beings. He imagines the laws coming to him and asking, "What are you doing, Socrates? Do you intend to destroy us?" He cannot betray the system in which he grew up, even if specific individuals within that system made a mistake. Rule: the mistakes of others do not give you the right to make your own. The judges were wrong. They unjustly condemned an innocent man. That is their fault, their shame, and their burden. If Socrates breaks the law and flees, it becomes his fault. He refuses to take on someone else's filth. He remains clean in a dirty cell. 30 days pass. The sacred ship from Delos has returned to Athens. This means the execution can no longer be delayed. It is the morning of the final day. His friends come to the cell. They are crushed. Socrates is calm. He asks for his weeping wife, Xanthippe, to be led away. He does not need hysterics. He needs clarity. He spends his final day in discussions about the immortality of the soul. This is not for comfort. It is an inquiry. He studies death just as he studied life, with curiosity and without prejudice. Rule: maintain focus on the task until the final second. His task is to think. As long as his heart beats, he will perform his task. The sentence is external noise. Death is the finale of the research. He does not waste time on goodbyes or wills. He spends it searching for the truth. The executioner arrives. This is a man who has seen hundreds of deaths. Usually, the condemned scream, beg for mercy, or curse the official. With tears in his eyes, the executioner brings the cup of hemlock, poison. He apologizes to Socrates. He knows he is killing the best man in the city. Socrates takes the cup. His hand does not shake. Rule: accept the inevitable without fuss. He asks if he may make a libation to the gods from the cup. The executioner replies that there is exactly 1 dose of poison. Socrates nods. He does not argue with the technological process of the execution. He simply takes a sip, calmly, as if drinking wine at dinner. His friends cannot bear it. Apollodorus begins to wail aloud. Socrates stops him. "What are you doing? I sent the women away specifically to avoid this nonsense. Rule: leave with dignity." He lies down on the bench. The poison begins to take effect from the feet up. He feels the cold rising. He describes his sensations to his friends, like a doctor describing the symptoms of a disease. He remains an observer of his own end. When the cold reaches his abdomen, Socrates uncovers his face and utters his last words. "Crito, we owe a cock to Asclepius. Pay it and do not forget." This is not delirium. Asclepius is the god of healing. It was customary to offer him a sacrifice after recovering from an illness. Socrates considers death a recovery from earthly suffering and folly. It is his final joke and his final conclusion. He closes his eyes. The body stiffens. Conclusion: a person's character is defined by how they meet the end. Socrates did not lose the trial. He outgrew it. Athens is frozen. Socrates is dead. The body has grown cold, the cup is empty, and the jailer closes the door. But it is at this very moment that the true phase of the confrontation begins. The death of a hero is not the end of the process. It is the ultimate test of the durability of his ideas. The city that voted for the execution has suddenly sobered up. Rule: your death is also an act. Make it weigh. A few days after the execution, the Athenians began looking for someone to blame. Socrates left no books behind. He left students who did not run. Plato, Xenophon, and others continued to broadcast his composure. They did not call for a rebellion. They simply repeated his questions, and the city broke under the weight of its own shame. Athens closed its theaters and gymnasiums in a sign of mourning. Socrates' accusers, Meletus and Anytus, became pariahs. Meletus was sentenced to death. Anytus was exiled. The people who shouted "execute him" were now looking for someone to sacrifice to wash away the disgrace. Rule: never adapt to the crowd. They will change their minds tomorrow. If Socrates had begun to make excuses, if he had wept and begged for mercy, he would have confirmed the crowd's righteousness. He would have admitted that they were the power and he was the victim. But he remained unshakable. By doing so, he deprived them of a moral victory. A crowd can kill a man, but it cannot kill a man who does not fear it. Socrates defeated the system simply by refusing to play by its rules. He did not fight the court. He ignored it. In the history of Athens, Thousands of names of judges have vanished into oblivion. Only the name of the man who drank the poison with a smile remains. Rule, focus on what cannot be taken away. Socrates had no property. He held no high office. He had no army. The only thing he possessed was his reaction to external events. This is the highest form of power. When you are being led to your execution and you are discussing logic, you are free. The one leading you is a slave to orders and his own fear. Centuries passed. Empires crumbled, gods changed, and borders were redrawn. But the image of the old man in the prison cell remained the foundation of Western civilization. Rule, your stance defines the scale of your personality. In a crisis, a person usually shrinks. They look for a way out. They are ready to compromise their conscience just to preserve their biological existence. Socrates expanded. He occupied the entire space of history because he refused to shrink in the face of death. He proved, a stance is not what you declare in times of peace. A stance is how you stand when 500 men armed with the law are against you and a cup of poison is on the table. Rule, do not seek understanding, seek the truth. He didn't care if his contemporaries understood him. He was working for eternity. And eternity reciprocated. His composure became the standard of behavior in impossible conditions. When you find yourself in the minority, when the system is against you, when the outcome is predetermined, remember the cell in Athens. You don't need to defeat everyone. You need to defeat your fear and not betray your rules. Conclusion. Victory is not survival at any cost. Victory is the preservation of clarity of mind and firmness of character at the moment when everything else is lost.